What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week and another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. Episode 36 is on deck. My name is Chris Salona. I am joined by Ethan Shalloway as per usual. Ethan, here we are once again. It's funny I find you here again.
Oh man, I know, and it's this is a fun morning. It's been it's Sunday, so we're getting this out nice and early. Actually, we had a little surprise podcast drop on a Sunday today, and we did a recording, so that's pretty sweet. First time for everything, and I'm doing well, Chris. I know that I had a long weekend, just like you, as normal. We are tired this Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'm fucking beat. You know, we've definitely recorded on Mondays before where we're coming off of fun benders. I'm coming off of a work bender, and I still have more after we finish recording. I worked all weekend, and this is still Sunday midday. We're recording this. I got more work to do after this, but it's great to take a little break and just kind of enjoy podcasting a little bit. We eat, sleep, and breathe podcasting over here at Grunge Bible, and
we're picking up some steam too. It feels good, and
we absolutely are.
And it starts with today. Starts with the podcast. For everybody listening, we got our first ever interview on the pod. I guess we've had Drew and maybe my brother, but this is the first high level, high profile person. If he wouldn't agree with that, I guess, but absolutely, we're really excited for this podcast. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and you guys have wanted interviews for a while, and as usual, this interview that we're about to present to you would not be possible without our top-level Patreon supporters, and we've got a special surprise for all the Patreon supporters later on in the interview, so if you want to stay tuned for that, you'll find out what that is. But without further ado, the Patreon top-level supporters are Kayla Jean, Sue, Alexa Shannon, Release, Lauren Irene, Jade Mercado, Marianne, Sunny Mashburn, Shannon Gorgon, Victor Schaefer, Jamie Lynn, Fuck Soup, and our #1 fan from Australia. So to you 13, we're very thankful that you're allowing us to continue to record, and you're helping to sustain these efforts. And, in no uncertain terms, you've made this interview possible, and we're thankful for your support.
Yes, as always, I love hearing the names. I love the league of people we have supporting us. It's great. And today we have Chris Cuffaro on a photographer who's been around forever, director, all things creator, and wow, it's a good one. I mean, he'll do all the introduction he needs, so I think we just get right to the meat and potatoes, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chris, he's been a friend of ours for a while. We've known him for almost 4 years now, and you have seen his photographs. You have seen the work that he's done. He has photographed just about everybody who has ever been in the public eye. He's a really, really great guy, got a lot of great stories. And, in this interview, we talked about everything, man. We got into, his experiences as a photographer, his thoughts on the music industry, social media, NFT. I mean, everything we were talking about. It was a really good conversation, and we are excited to present it to you here today.
Yeah, you guys are. It's a little bit different pace than usual. I mean, yeah, you'll see what we mean. Just be ready. Be ready for a nice, interesting podcast. It gets a little bit over an hour. It's a little bit longer than normal, but I promise you, everybody's great. I think you'd agree, Chris.
Absolutely. So let's just get right to it. And here is our conversation with Chris Cuffaro.
Are you really that desperate for people to rant and rave? You're going to call me back? We'll see about that.
When it goes viral, you'll be surprised. You're going to be, you'll find a space on this page. I think people are going to love it.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let me just say this as an introduction. First of all, I want to say this loud and clear. I am not the grunge photographer. Okay?
Exactly.
Nice.
I get so. When I did the grunge exhibition so long ago in 2019 in Australia, I mean, the press there, you're the grunge photographer. I'm like, no, I'm not the grunge photographer. So I like to make that really clear to everybody. I'm not the grunge photographer. I'm not even a music photographer. I'm just a plain old photographer. Yeah. And You know, if I had to give the title grunge photographer to anybody, it would be Charles Peterson. He was there. He documented it from the beginning to the end. He is the man. He's a brilliant fucking photographer. I give him major props. And he was there for it all. So I'm just like, I always used to say to everybody, I'm an outsider looking in. I was a guest to that whole scene, and they treated me very, very well and took good care of me. Were always nice to me.
It's gotta be, it's gotta be interesting too, because like it must get annoying, or I guess at what point did it get annoying that people kind of only recognize you or view you in one light of one period of your professional life, 25, 30 years ago?
Well, that honestly, guys, so I just wrote a blog post about this that goes up on Tuesday about labels. And I have fought labels my whole career. I mean, I've been shooting 50 years now. And when I started out, it was, you're like, oh, you're the glamour photographer. They just throw labels. And for the last 20 years, I'd say, people are like, oh, you're the music photographer, the rock and roll photographer, the pop rock photographer, grunge. You just like, shut the fuck up. I'm just a photographer, plain old fucking photographer. And if I'm just a music photographer and, fucking some client calls me up to shoot teddy bears on Pink Seamless, what am I going to say? No, like I'm going to do it. It's a job. And so I don't like labels like that. So I fought with my publicist for my exhibitions. I stress them, if anybody says music photographer, I will, just stop it right then and there. And I just hate being labeled that way. So I am just a plain old photographer / director. And the word I've added onto it now is / creator. Yeah. But
well, I guess another question to kind of go back a little bit. What did get you into film? When you were little, did you expect to be taking photos of the people that you have? And really, I mean, you're not the grunge photographer, but you were so intermixed in there. So I want to kind of ask the beginning of like, why photographs, and then how did it kind of like grow into?
Well, I'll tell you the story. I always tell people this. So did you ever see it's Steve Jobs' commencement speech for Stanford University?
I think I have. Yeah,
I've seen that
on YouTube. You got to watch it. It's a brilliant speech about how there's this section of he talks about connecting the dots of your life. You can look when you're old enough. You look back and you go. And I always tell people, I can tell you why I am where I am today. I can spell it. I always tell people, I'm broke, a broke ass starving artist. I can tell you exactly why I am and all the decisions I made. But I started when I was 10 years old. I'll tell you the short version of the long story. My mother loved musicals, like, Singing in the Rain, Damn Yankees, Bye Bye Birdie, things like that. And one time my mom, when I was in 6th grade, I was sick and she made me watch the movie Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. And I fell in love. I was always in love with Audrey Hepburn as a kid. But Fred Astaire plays a photographer. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I take pictures. And so my mom had a camera. I picked it up. I took a roll of film. She had it processed. I immediately fell in love with it. And then in 7th grade, I got to junior high and there was a photography class. I took that. And within a week, I was like, this is it. I'm going to do this. And then I processed my first roll of film and made my first prints. I said, this is it. And by 8th grade, I was making business cards and running my business. I shot my first cover.
That's when Cuffaro photo started in 8th grade.
At 12 years old, and then
it's amazing.
Yeah, I always tell people like I knew from day motherfucking one that this was what it was going to be. So, as I like to say, it's my blessing and my curse. My therapist used to tell me to, that's what sometimes things are in life, and I would, but I started out, and this is the honest God truth, guys. I'm not going to lie to you guys, because I say this all the time. I got into it because of girls. I at a very young age, I started looking at Playboy magazine when I was 5. Mm-hmm. Didn't know what I was looking at, but I liked it.
You were intrigued.
Interesting. Yeah. And you got to realize when that was. You didn't see a whole lot, but whatever I did see, I was like, that's so cool. I started subscribing to Playboy when I was 10. My parents were like, what the fuck's that all about?
First subscription. Nice.
Yeah, I was subscribing to Vogue and Rolling Stone and all these other magazines, but Playboy was, and I was the only kid on the block that was buying it for the pictures. I didn't care about the articles.
Yeah.
But I was always about girls. I started shooting models when I was 12 years old. I started shooting naked girls when I was 17. My first naked girl, which was amazing. And then I started shooting concerts. My first concert I shot was in 76. Stanley Clarke, if you know who he is, bass player, jazz. 1976, I shot my first concert. for fun, sneak the camera in and sit in the seat and take some snapshots. And so I started shooting concerts in high school whenever possible. I could sneak a camera in with Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, Confunction, Rufus and Chaka Khan, goes on and on and on. Never thinking that musical was going to be a thing. And so I got to Los Angeles when I was 21 and thinking I was going to be a fast photographer. And my first day on the job, I worked at a black and white lab. My best friend, and I call him my brother, he told me, you're not going to be a fast photographer, so figure something else out. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, like I was in tears, basically, just going, what? You just shot my whole thing down. And he just said to me, I was in the wrong city. I had to be in New York, and I wasn't. And he said, and he basically said to me, you know nothing about fashion. And he was right. I just knew girls. So I immediately kind of shifted from that point on. I started thinking about what's next, and being in the entertainment capital, you just start thinking about entertainment. Yeah. So that's kind of where it started. And then I've told the story on my websites, but like then I was shooting a lot of playmates for fun and things like that. And I met this one playmate, I'll never forget her, Karen Witter, who was dating the record producer Keith Forsey, and Keith was produced Billy Idol and produced Charlie Sexton, and he did the soundtrack to Breakfast Club. So everybody knows that soundtrack. Yeah. So I took a portrait of him for fun. He was so cool. He lived up at in Beverly Hills. He was the protege of, I guys ever heard of Giorgio Moroder, who was this famous producer who produced like Donna Summer, and he kind of created disco basically. Oh, wow. So that I made this little promo card of Keith, and I sent that out to magazines, and the only magazine that called me back was Musician Magazine and gave me my first music shoot. And by my second music shoot was Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire, and he was my hero. So that changed my life. I knew right then and there I was going to shoot music, and I was going to shoot all my heroes. Because next to photography, music's always been my passion since I was a kid.
Yeah, and you play a little bit, right?
No, oh God, no. I've owned 50 guitars at one point. I've owned 3 drum kits, gear, speakers, monitors, because I would shoot for companies. And this used to drive my musician friends crazy. Like I would shoot for Steinberger guitars or fucking Pence's. All these people, they would give me shit because they couldn't afford to pay me. Yeah. So I would go they go, how much to shoot? Mark Knopfler. One time I had to shoot him for Pence's Soar, and they're like, how much? I go, I want $5,000. They're like, we don't have that kind of money. We'll give you $500. I go, how about give me $5,000 worth of gear? And they would give me that instead. Same thing happened with Drum Workshop. I shot for Drum Workshop for 20 years. And they gave me drum kits, and I would just either give them to my friends or just sell them or something, So
yeah, because I know the story.
I know some bar chords.
Yeah, hey, that's all you need. I know the story of selling the guitars to finance the Jeremy music video. That's why I asked. So
yeah, because at the time I had a pretty good collection, and I look back on it now, and I wish I had it now because I had some signed guitars by Nirvana. Oh man, I had some signed shit I had some really good shit. I sold because I had to raise $20,000 for the Pearl Jam video, and so I sold half the collection. I sold the other half to go see Jane's Addiction's last show in Hawaii in September of '91. So that's kind of like I always tell people. That's one thing to this day I'm crazy in that like. I always tell people, whatever it takes to get the job done, whatever it takes to get, if I have an idea or a vision, I don't give a fuck what it's going to cost, what it's going to take. It has to get done, So I'll do it.
I think stepping back real quick, I just want to let the followers know. So we met Chris. We met you back when we had 29,000 followers. I was looking at we have a Google Doc.
Back when we enjoyed social media.
And we were like... yeah.
Exactly. Back when we were all young.
Yeah, I know you know what we're talking about.
When social media was young, it wasn't so you know. And we have an email in here, and we're like, trying to like, hey, we have 29,000 followers. We'd love to, because Chris had messaged you about using a photo, and you responded, and you were like, yeah, you guys can absolutely. Thanks for asking. And we're like, dude, I think we should like talk to this guy. He's taking pictures of literally.
How long
everybody.
ago was that?
It was the first
2018.
Contact. So yeah, I think it was 2018.
3.5 years ago.
We did it. Since then we did a giveaway in 29. Well, we did the Prince giveaway with you probably later 2018, or was it 2019 as well?
That was right in the end of 2018. I think back when we liked social media, we were trying to get you to I think 10,000 followers. So we ran a giveaway that got you a good portion of the way there.
Yeah. It did really well. A lot of people. That was a lot of fun. We gave away some awesome stuff, and then we did the giveaway with Bexley at we were at 70K. Now we're at 320, which is crazy, and it's 3 years later. So,
yeah. Well, maybe we can do it again because I need followers. So, yeah, and I have a lot of leftover shit here from the Grunge exhibition. I just gave away a Pearl Jam frame print to my makeup artist 2 days ago because she came over here going, "It's my dad's birthday in a few weeks in Chicago," and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I got to go give my dad something really good." I said, "What are you asking me?" She goes, "Well, he loves Pearl Jam." And I went, "Here, I just picked up a frame print from him. Go, here, give him this. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy." She's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, he'll be, trust me. If he's a Pearl Jam fan, he's going to love this." She's like, "Oh my God."
Well, and obviously, and that was the best era of them too. I mean, you were there at the, I know we've had conversations and Pearl Jam in your estimation hasn't been good after 1992, but you were there right when they were at the apex there.
Well, look, I say this to all the people, if you want to talk about, let's get into the whole grunge music thing, is that, look, like any era of music, I always tell people, you go back to the 70s, for me, when jazz fusion was at its peak.
Yeah.
And you had Weather Report and Return to Forever and Mahavishnu Orchestra. That was a big period of my life and a big music that I was into. Same thing with funk in the 70s. Nothing lasts forever. And, no musician can, there are very few bands that can put out, a handful of great albums. I mean,
Absolutely.
Besides the Beatles, I always say I would give the next step to U2. I think U2's done a great job of great album after great album. But I would tell people I guess I'm biased, but I loved 10, not only musically, I loved what it means to me and all the different things that it meant to me at the time. After that, there's some songs that I like, but not whole albums. And then, and I don't even really listen to all that much grunge music in a sense. Once in a while, I shouldn't say that. If I put on anything, I put on the MTV Unplugged records,
Okay.
Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and Nirvana. And the Alice in Chains one, as far as I'm concerned, is the greatest MTV Unplugged out record and the greatest Alice in Chains record ever. I could argue that with any music fan. But when I put music on, I'm going to listen. I always said, when I put music on, I was just doing this shooting yesterday. I put on my high school music. I put on some Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, or, something from, I grew up in the hood. So I play funk mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, hey, real quick, why the Alice in Chains Unplugged? If you can give the people love asking and the comparison between those two. Did you just?
Well, let's go back in history. You guys weren't there, but so when and I'm going to forget the names of them, but when Alice in Chains put out that first EP of acoustic, it wasn't Sap.
The Sap one was the first one, and then Jar of Flies was a few years later. When Alice in Chains came out with that first record and the song, Man in the Box and It Ain't Like That. Mm-hmm.
To this day, It Ain't Like That is to me the greatest stripper song of all times. I play it for all my stripper friends. But then when they came out with Sap, it just was you just got to see truly how talented they were. And it's the same thing I always repeat myself. It's the same thing when Nirvana came out with Nevermind, right? I already knew Bleach. I already had Bleach and played that to death.
Right.
But when you listen to, I used to tell my friends back then, you listen to Nevermind, you're just these are just a bunch of pop songs at the end of the day. Simple pop songs with a catchy riff and a catchy hook, but a bunch of noise. And you said, if you strip that down, they're simple pop songs. Well, when they go to acoustic, you can then really see they are simple pop songs.
Yeah.
With a lot of passion and emotion and whatever. And it's the same thing with I tell this to all my friends in bands all the time. It's if you can't play your music acoustically, then we got a problem, So I believe that's where you really get to see the songwriting, the skill of songwriting, the skill of writing lyrics is when things are done acoustically. And I think when Alice in Chains put out Sap, I just thought that was just blew my mind. And like I said, I always tell people, I love Alice in Chains. I mean, they're in my top 5 favorite bands out of Seattle, but I love their acoustic stuff way more.
Yeah.
Way more. How do you not? I don't know. How do you not?
Absolutely.
And the MTV performance is just crazy good. Like,
yeah, seriously, especially, you know, given the conditions that it happened in and everything. But that's a really good point. And we talked about this maybe a few episodes ago about the whole pop thing. And that's really what it is. And, you know, popular music at the time, I mean, there's a lot of commonalities, like you said, with the catchy choruses and everything like that. And we've learned that if you want to piss off any grunge rock fans, you call Nirvana pop. And that goes back to the whole, everybody gets so caught up in these labels and everything. But it's really what it is. It's, you know, it's pop music and how it changes.
Any of your fans that listen to this, if they have an issue with my comments, please contact me. Let me know. We can debate it. We can discuss it, because I have no problems discussing it. Because I'll tell you, like, you know, I mean, you take Nirvana songs. They're just, like I said, without the noise, they're just really pop. Not pop in that they're just simple, you know. And I've said this my whole life about art. Art in general, the simplest stuff lasts the longest. Everybody in this, you know, who's listening to this, and everybody, you know, you and I, all three of us, we can all hum a Beatles tune, but how many of us can all hum a Frank Zappa tune? You know, please.
That's a good point.
And I worship Frank Zappa. You know, I saw him twice, blew my fucking mind. But come on now, who can hum "Don't Eat Yellow Snow" or "Penguins in Bondage"? I'm sorry, I can't. But you can all hum a Beatles tune, and you can hum a fucking Nirvana tune. It's the same thing with art. Like, if you look at all my photography, doesn't matter what my subject matter is, I keep it really simple. It's really simple. So I just feel, I've always felt that simple lasts the longest. And especially if you look at a lot of the, you know, there were complicated songs coming from Seattle during that time. And they weren't the, you know, there was, you know, the grunge bands, there was a lot of grunge bands that didn't come from Seattle. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
And my favorite not from Seattle is the Afghan Wigs. I think Greg Dooley is a fucking genius.
Yeah, and he's still creating fresh music, and he's done a lot with Mark Lanigan, you know, and different projects like that. And that's the thing. And similar to you, you know, a lot of these musicians, if they're still here, they're still working, and people a lot of times gloss over everything post 1994, for example. But it's like, I mean, fuck, there's 27 years worth of material and new inspiration that people are putting out into the world. And I imagine it's the same for you. I mean, there's probably things that have become inspiring to you since then that you've wanted to explore creatively, that, you know, you probably want people to see and you're prideful about.
Right. There's a lot I did before it and a lot I did after it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to give myself a commercial break here by saying, look, I've said this for a long time, especially since I started my Greatest Hits project 11 years ago. Everybody has seen one of my photos. Everybody.
Yeah.
They just don't know it's me. Right. And I always say, starting with George Michael's Faith. You know, it's like, hello, who hasn't seen that photo? So, you know, I take pride in the fact that I always tell people the thing I'm most proud of is that not only have I been doing this for 50 years, but I've done all sorts of different things. Not just like I always music. My music work is a third of my work. It's there's so much more. So, and that's the same thing with like a lot of bands. And I like to relate to musicians, and I do, because, you know, you take somebody like Greg Dooley, who is a genius and who's done the Twilight Singers and the Gutter Twins, and he's done the Wigs, and he's done Solo, and he's done this, and he does the best cover tunes you'll ever hear. And just like, he's a genius in that sense. A lot of guys, you know, I always tell people, you got to get out of that, you know, your bubble once in a while and push yourself and challenge yourself to take it to that next level, as difficult as it is. You can't just keep writing the same song over and over again, or play the same song over and over again.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Yeah, you could. It's just, you know, it's probably not going to be as enjoyable. And it's always funny because you'll get music fans, you know, for the sake of, you know, what we normally talk about, and they get pissed when an artist changes the creative direction that they go in. But like, I mean, could you imagine? And I always relate it back to whatever that person's doing with their life. If they had to do the same thing every single day for 30 years, I mean, they would get pissed off, bored about it too. You know, they want to change their creative direction.
Honestly, but that's what I say to people all the time. Like, if I'm famous for George Michael Faith, am I supposed to shoot that same lighting setup for the rest of my life? Fuck no. You know, when I was a kid, this photographer told me, I was like probably a teenager, and he says to me, "All you need, son, you need 3 tricks. And those 3 tricks, lighting, camera, film, you can have a whole career for that." I'm like, fuck 3 tricks. 3 tricks, I'll do that every fucking month. I'll change up all the time. I'm not going to sit on one thing. That's why I joke with my music friends these days. I tell all the young ones I shoot, like, dude, all you need is 3 hit songs, and you can spend the rest of your life playing county fairs every summer and just You don't even have to have all the original members. One member, 3 songs. You can play county fairs for the rest of your life.
You're on your way.
Yeah, you're like and then you get your winters off. Summers you work. Winters are off, and you live the good life. But I can't imagine. I tell people, can you imagine being Phil Collins and having to play Sue Studio over and over again for the rest of your life?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like being like Alice in Chains. Everybody's has. Jerry's a genius. Puts out new records, but we still want to hear Wood or Man in the Box. Get through all the other shit so we can really hear the songs we really want to hear.
Exactly. It's
That's
like
why we came here.
Yeah, it's like there's mutual, it's like I humor you by listening to your new stuff and you humor me by playing the 30-year-old stuff. And it's just
exactly.
It's weirdly transactional at times.
We talk about that a lot too. Yeah, we talk about like bands and how you can see when you can just tell sometimes they've mailed it in and they're
because you saw Weezer, Ethan, right? You saw them, and obviously everybody wants to hear all the old stuff, and they were just going through all of the motions, right?
Yeah, it's just and you get that with a lot of the bands on their last legs, where like I think Blink 182 is pretty bad, but at the end because they were doing the kind of the same thing, and and you had to match the intensity of when you were younger a lot of times, and that's just impossible.
It's hard when you're in the 40s or 50s.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably a lot of what makes, like you were saying, Chris, what makes, some of the first records so special is because there's that energy there. And that's not something you can recreate 10 years later or something you can recreate 25 years later.
You only get one debut album. And I think we've talked about it too. It's like there's a reason that 10 was, it's the first time that they're making music together or the other, I don't know. The debut albums just have so much more.
Well, there's this. So I have this philosophy. If you look at a lot of great first albums, in a sense, or great bands that start out, this is my philosophy. And this is just my opinion on all of this madness is that, look, when you're young and you're not like a kid, but you're young and you're starting out, you're starving and it makes you write. It makes you dig deeper, and because you got nothing else going on, you got no food, you're sleeping on a floor, maybe like Eddie Vedder talks about, how he was just struggling, and that kind of lifestyle inspires you deeply, and you're maybe it's a lot of anger, maybe it's angst. Look at fucking the Sex Pistols. They were angry because they were probably had nothing, and they've got lots to be angry about. So you have that whole thing. Then you put out the record. Let's use 10 as an example, and you become a multimillionaire. And then in your Nirvana, and you become multimillionaires. The next record, you're like, what do you write about? At that point, you're living in a fat house you paid cash for. You got a gardener and a fucking, life is good. You can go to the grocery store, all that stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, what am I going to be angry about? I have nothing to be angry about. I have nothing. Where's my angst coming from? Where's my fucking passion coming from? It's tough. I always tell people, I'll tell you this honest to God truth. So when I met everybody, and I think I shot Nirvana March of 91, was my first shoot with them. I had to buy Dave Grohl 100 pairs of drumsticks because he had no drumsticks. I bought the guys food because they had no food. I took care of them. I like whatever you guys need. I gave Eddie Vedder a Fender Strat guitar I wish I had back to this day. I took care of I was buying shit for them. They had nothing. And they considered me like the big Hollywood photographer, the big time. And I was like, I'm starving too, guys. By the end of 91 into 92, they were all millionaires.
Right.
I had more friends become millionaires than ever. And the last conversation I had with Kurt Cobain was, hey, Kurt, how you doing? Oh, it's great. Look, it's weird, Chris. It's weird. I'm like, what's so weird, Kurt? He goes, it's weird when I take $20 out of the ATM machine, my balance is $50,000. I'm like, wow, Kurt, that's real tough. I'll never know what that's like, but it's really interesting. Yeah. And, and Novoselic, I'm asking Novoselic tells me he's excited. He just bought his first house. I said, great, Chris. All you're going to have to worry about now is the mortgage payments. He goes, no, I paid it all off in one payment. I'm like, oh, Chris, that's real tough. It's really
that sense of urgency just kind of evaporates, once you have that success, and it's hard. I don't think that's something you can probably access if it's not for real.
And like a lot of people, I've seen it with all kinds of actors and people. It's just you change and you have no choice. Some fight it. I think Eddie Vedder fought it, as hard as he could about keeping his, punk rock roots, as you want to say. But a lot of people, but then it's like, what? Stop fighting it. Enjoy it. Embrace it. It also with, the money and the fame, you can put it to good use. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a miserable, depressing, pressure thing. And I think, like I said, I always felt like Eddie, I haven't talked to the guy in 20 some odd years, but like, I felt like he first fought it all, but I think eventually he realized, hey, wait a minute, this could be something I could use for good. I think a lot of those guys did. A lot of the guys in Seattle, back in the days, they talked a lot about, don't sell out. As soon as they're starting becoming money and success, don't sell out, don't be a sellout. And all those fuckers that didn't sell out were punk rock and too cool. They're all working at FedEx now, delivering packages and working at Starbucks and getting me my coffee because they were just too cool. And I always tell people all the time, sell out, man. You get an opportunity to sell out, sell out. Trust me.
That is, it's funny that you say that because we've had that exact conversation, Ethan and I, and I agree with you. I mean, like, why are we romanticizing not being successful and not taking care of yourself?
Why'd you pick up the guitar in the first place if you didn't want to be successful?
Right. Yeah. It's like there's two things. You want to make a lot of money and you want to talk to a lot of girls. Like, that's basically why musicians.
Excuse me, Chris, it's not, you don't want to talk to a lot of girls. You want to fuck a lot of girls. Chris, no, we got, that's another podcast for another day. We're going to have a little man-to-man talk.
Yeah, we'll have to have that one for the bonus subscribers.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just
I'm gonna have to explain the facts of life to you. Okay.
Yeah, please educate me. I need to be taught. But I mean, it's totally true. It's like why as soon as that's attainable, why are people expected to not attain it? I mean, it's right there for you. I mean, shit.
Yeah, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, people. Yeah, and that costs money. So you better make some fucking money. But yeah, I think a lot of times too that. When I look back at those days and I smile about them all, and I always tell them my whole life is that, I got a million stories and the photos to prove it. That's my tagline. Yeah. But I think about Seattle and grunge, and I think about the people and the relationships and all the good times. I haven't, like I said, I wasn't their friends, and I had to learn that lesson the hard way. I thought I was, but I learned later on that I wasn't. And it's okay. Now it's okay, but there was a time it hurt because you realize as I grew older and doing stuff in my career, not just them, but everywhere, you start to realize there's friends and then there's business acquaintances, and these people were business acquaintances. But I had incredible moments and so many great moments. It's amazing to me. And I tell people, I think about all the things I did that I didn't have a camera with me, which makes me mad. Like the Nirvana show at the Paramount Theater in October 30, Halloween. I was there on the side of the stage. I can see myself on the video. The night before, they played Vancouver, BC at the Commodore Ballroom, and it was Nirvana and Mudhoney. It was the best show I'd ever seen. Mudhoney was on fire that night, and I didn't bring a camera. Like what the fuck? But so many great moments, so many great parties, and just people in general.
Do you think that you didn't bring a camera, but because sometimes I don't take enough photos of general stuff. So you got to experience those things without having the responsibility of having a camera. So you take it back because you want to be able to just have actual photos, or be why you take photos all the time. So why? Well,
I think at that time, but at that time, I felt like at that time, it was just it was expensive to do. Every time I shot a show for fun, it was $1,000 because film and processing. Wow. So I can only do so much, and during that time I was spending most of my money following Jane's Addiction around. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't regret it at all. I mean, sometimes you have to go have fun.
Honestly, I find that too. Like sometimes when I go to a concert, I'm like, I'm not going to take my phone now. I'm just going to enjoy the moment. And then 2 days later, I'm like, damn, I really should have videoed that. That's because you don't know what's going to, you don't know. So another question that I wanted to kind of get into, when this all was going on, was there a sense that the scene, grunge, it was going to blow up? Could you feel the water shifting? Because you lived through it. We didn't live through it. Did you know what you're doing? Is that why you're like, I need to have my camera on me at all times? Because like you said, the Paramount, you never, until you go back, you're like, damn, if I would have photos of that, that's just, that would just be awesome. But you never knew what that concert was until 25 years later. So I was going to say, can you talk about kind of being in it, kind of feeling is there feeling the change as it's happening? I feel like that. Yeah,
you did. You definitely. I definitely sensed it in that. I always tell people the first sign of something's different was the first time I saw Soundgarden when Loud Love came out, Louder Than Love, whatever it was, came out, and I saw Soundgarden at the Whiskey and seeing Chris Cornell for the first time, and that was in '89. That was after I'd spent doing George Michael and all this pop stuff, and then seeing Chris first time just was like, oh God, what the fuck is this? Who is this kid? Like, unbelievable. That just was the first shifts, like the big one. Then I think it was the first time I saw Nirvana was like, oh shit. And then I think that was at the Roxy. But then seeing Pearl Jam the first time was like, holy fuck. But I got obsessed with Sub Pop records at a very early age in Sub Pop. So Seattle, I collected everything that Sub Pop made. And when I first met Jonathan and Bruce, I bought test pressings off of them. They were so poor, they would sell me anything basically.
Yeah.
And so I would buy stuff, and at the end I had everything they made, every limited edition, every single, every LP, every color, you name it, I had it. And I ended up selling the entire collection to Eddie Vedder for like $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. But like you saw it, you just saw the slow build, and the difference for the moment. I always tell people the funny moment was for me. So in 91, I'm following Jane's Addiction around everywhere I can. I'm shooting Jane's because they're my favorite band. They're amazing live. They're just blowing my mind. I worship them. And the last Lollapalooza, the first Lollapalooza, the last show in Seattle in September of 91, Eddie Vedder, myself, and his girlfriend Beth, the three of us drive to that show together. We go stop at a liquor store, grab a couple King Cobra 40 ounces. We're having the best day ever. We get to the venue. I get passes for them. I take them backstage because I'd shot Jane's a bunch. They knew me.
Yeah.
So I take him backstage, and I'm introducing Eddie to all these bands. Hey, Dave Navarro, to Jane's, to everybody. And Eddie worships all these bands. He loves, everybody basically. They're like, Eddie, Chris, who's this Eddie guy? Like, who's this Eddie guy? Like, oh, he's in Pearl Jam. Who the fuck is Pearl Jam?
Yeah,
everybody's asking me that question. Like, they're this amazing band, and they're from Seattle here. They're amazing. You're going to love them. And then a year later, 92, Pearl Jam's playing Lollapalooza with Soundgarden. So it's weird to see all that. I've watched a lot of that stuff. I've seen that with a lot of just artists in general, bands in general, where I can go, yeah, this person's special. There's something's going to happen here. And then it does. And it's really cool to see. Sometimes I watch people self-destruct or can't handle it. And I see some people who can handle it really well. But being there, every time I went back to Seattle, you could see the difference. Every trip, like something was changing. Next thing you know, Sub Pop is doing better. All of a sudden they got money and they've got better offices. And, and then the big sign I always tell people is that if you look at the first year of Pearl Jam is a good example, Eddie's wearing the same t-shirt pretty much the whole year. And the first sign of a band making money is start looking at the clothes. They start wearing nice new clothes.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh. You could see, like I said, look at the first shoot with Nirvana. They're like, that's not grunge. That's just all they could afford.
Yeah, that's just what exactly. And then it becomes contrived. To be something else. They didn't have a stylist running around buying them custom flannels. Yeah.
They're just poor people. And so it's like I said, I got to watch it all. Got to watch friends become millionaires, got to see them all. Some handle it, some didn't. Lane couldn't handle it for multiple reasons. But it's sad, but it's like, it's not just grunge that's gone through. That's gone through the history of mankind and in music world, so all sorts of people went through crazy things great artists couldn't handle certain things.
And that's not, like you said, that's not even specific to music. I mean, probably just entertainment or anything that you're going to be in the public eye. And certainly you've probably had, photographer friends or whoever, it's everybody has a certain capacity to handle fame or whatever.
Oh, like I said, I've seen it. I've been shooting in LA for 40 years now, and I've watched actor friends and people come and go, And that's why I tell people all the time, not the last probably 10 plus years, where I when I meet young art, because all I do nowadays is shoot young people, and I give them I have these speeches I give them all is like, number one is manners. Be fucking nice. Every musician I've ever shot for the last 20 years, I tell them all, every one of them, be Iggy Pop. There's a reasons why Iggy Pop is still around and he's like 500 years old, is because the guy is the nicest man you'll ever meet. He walks into a shoot and says, hello, my name is Iggy. He introduces himself to everybody, gets their names. We do the shoot. At the end of the shoot, he says, thank you. He runs around shaking everybody's hand and please and thank you. You're like dealing with the most amazing person ever. And I tell all my young musicians friends, don't be a fucking asshole. Don't ever be nice to your publicist. Be nice to me. Be nice to everyone. The last time I shot Soundgarden, and Chris was giving me shit, I always tell people the story. He was, picking on me, being a jerk to me, not, in a fun way. And I was like, come on, guys. My attitude was always, hey, the sooner we get started, the sooner we shoot, the sooner we can all go home and do what we really want to do. Because I don't want to be here just like you guys don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Nobody likes having their picture taken. So last time I was shooting Chris, he was making fun of me and picking on me in front of everybody. And I just said to him, Chris, what's more difficult than doing a photo shoot? And he's like, what? I go, being the photographer has to shoot your ass. So shut up, sit on the Apple box, and just look at the camera for me, and we'll be done in 2 minutes. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, come on, quit making my life difficult. Yeah. I go, I don't sit there and, I used to yell at musicians all the time. Just get it over. You show up, stare at the camera, and get it over with, and let's move on, Yeah. So I get it. Again, a long time I've been doing, but I just think that everybody handles it differently. My advice to a lot of them all the time is when you start making money, spend some money on a therapist, twice a week will help you a lot and deal with some of your demons. Otherwise you're going to be in trouble. But like a lot of times young talent, I meet people that are like, oh, I worship, Kurt Cobain, and they come to me like, what was it like? And I just said, Kurt was the nicest guy ever, literally the nicest guy ever. And I think if anybody was married to Courtney Love, who knows how you'd feel about life.
Very true. Yeah. And it's interesting, if you get somebody coming up to you is like, oh my God, Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell, whatever, I think a lot of people, especially people our age who are younger, who weren't around, they kind of forget that these were people and, that they were in a lot of ways kind of just like you or just like us. And, they just
no different, just a lot of talent, really good talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris Cornell, I think it's sad since his passing, is getting the recognition he kind of deserves. But I knew it from the day I met Chris. That guy was one of a kind, not even, one of a kind. And same thing, I'm a massive, George Michael fan. And I tell people all the time that George Michael was one of the greatest songwriters, and people don't give him the props for that, but they do now.
Yeah, it's strange how sometimes it takes an artist's or a entertainer's or an actor's or actress's death for someone to take a second look and for them to get their due. And it's such a shitty thing because it's like, why couldn't what's different? What's like, different?
I can tell you guys, like I've been saying this my whole career that I'll be rich and famous when I'm dead and gone. And everybody can. My best friend Jason, he knows this. I've told him a million times. When they have my memorial and people are talking about how great I was and how amazing I was, I said to him, Jason, ask them if did you tell Chris that when he was alive? And if they say no, I go, Jason, you punch him in the face really hard and then kick him out of the memorial. And then I go, when they have the retrospective of my career at the New York Met, I go, if anybody says anything like that, just punch him in the face. I tell these people to fuck off. I was great and you should know that, I just tell people all the time, I am the greatest photographer in my apartment. That's it. Maybe on the block, on my block, but I'm good with that.
Give yourself the block, maybe the neighborhood. Well, goes without saying, we think you're great. So we don't want to get punched
I'm not
in the
as
face.
dumb as I look.
I want to get, go ahead, Ethan.
All I was going to say, I'm always impressed when you post a person that I didn't know you shot, and I'm like, oh shit, he posted them, and another one is like, oh, he posted like comedians, actors, like basketball players. I'm just like,
Ethan, you have no idea.
I was like, how do you cross paths with like everybody? I'm always impressed. And when you say you're not like a music photographer, I know this. I'm telling people, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have like this photographer on. He took all these like really like all the big guys, but really he's taken like people that you would be interested. There's people that like I want to ask about, and hear about how those interactions were, because it's just like. Awesome.
Well, I can tell you guys, like honestly, Ethan, it's like this is the thing where I always tell people I can sit here and drop names all day, every day, right? And I don't like doing that. I go into clubhouse rooms and these photographers are dropping names to get, I call it celebrity validation. I'm like, I'm a photographer. And you're like, okay, whatever. And I go, well, I shot Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Now, then it's like celebrity
changes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, shut up. My joke to people all the time is like, they go, when photographers think they're special, I'm like, okay, cool. You're like amazing. I'm not going to argue with you. You're amazing. Your photos are amazing. But the difference between me and you is I have iconic photos of icons. And I go, and most importantly, when my friends, and I'm not being a jerk here for you listeners, because I'm a smart ass. Everybody knows that. But my friends, we fuck around when we talk shit to each other, because I'm from the hood. I was like, yeah, but the difference between me and everybody else, Chris Cornell wrote a song about my photo. So
let's get into this.
I tell people all the time, like, so if Chris writes a song about your photo, you call me. Otherwise, checkmate.
Yeah, I'm not going to be holding my breath for that. Exactly. It's like, and that's the thing. And it's always funny because you've definitely found yourself in that situation where somebody's playing celebrity validation, and you have like 46 things in your toolbox that you could just end their life with right there.
My other joke when I have all these friends, and I've met 50 people in Clubhouse, and I love the app. All my friends are fucking amazing. I have 2 guys that are like my brothers now. It's amazing, right? And one of them, when I first met him, he saw like I love doing weddings, and I'm like, yeah, he goes, have you ever shot a wedding? I'm like, yeah, I did one once. He goes, just one? I go, yeah. I go, I don't like the pressure of shooting a wedding. It's a really stressful. And I go, if you fuck up, there's no take 2. You can't do a reshoot. And he's like, yeah. He goes, but like, and I go, back in my day, we had to shoot film, and it was a lot more difficult, and you had to focus. And he's like, oh yeah. I go, but the wedding, it was only Tom Hanks's wedding anyways. and he looks at me, he goes, what? And I go, yeah, I just did Tom's wedding for them and Rita. And they're like, oh my God. I go, yeah. So if you do Tom Hanks's wedding, you retire. You
don't have to do another
away
wedding.
On top. Yeah. Drop the mic and just go away, and they're like, holy shit. I go, you guys understand? Like, that's why I like to remind people, I'm old, people. I'm 60. I've been doing this for 50 years.
That was a good one. I didn't expect the Tom Hanks kick punchline right there.
No, it's every day you learn something new. I want to get back to the LA thing, and that kind of ties in. Like, your words, not mine. You just said you're old, and you've lived in LA for a long time. What are your thoughts? I mean, LA is the stereotypical town where people go and they try to make it, and I'm sure you've seen tens of thousands of people come every through day. That town. What are your thoughts on the people that want to move there? And I think a lot of people sometimes kind of have a enlightened or heightened sense of who they are, what they can bring to the table. But I mean, there's so many people who are doing it, and how do people navigate that?
So I'll tell you guys, the first day I moved to Los Angeles, I moved to LA with $1,000 in my pocket. I didn't know anybody. Luckily, I got a job working at a black and white lab in Hollywood. And the first day I'm starting that job, I meet my brother. I call him my big brother. I love this man more than anybody in my life. He's my brother. I met him that day, and he gave me the speech that I give to everybody that moves here. Same speech. Rule number 1, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's not who you know, it's who you blow. So if you're going to fuck somebody or get fucked by somebody, it better be worth fucking. Don't waste your time on the little shit. Don't fuck little people over, fuck big people over, or get fucked by big people. 3 biggest lies in Hollywood. Checks in the mail. My Mercedes is paid for, and I won't come in your mouth. It's as a photographer, he said to me, as a photographer, rule number 1 in photography, it's not what you shoot, it's who you shoot. You could shoot the greatest pictures of a bunch of nobodies or a bunch of half-ass pictures of a bunch of somebodies. And in Hollywood, they're going to care about the somebodies. And it's so important to have, like I always tell people, nobody looks at my photography. When you look at my pictures, you're not looking at the lighting, the composition, the technique. You're looking at, oh my God, it's Nirvana. Nobody cares about, the picture could be upside down and backwards. It doesn't matter. It's Nirvana. So that's why I say to people, when I meet people all the time. I have 3 photographers that moved to LA in the last 6 months I met from Clubhouse that I'm mentoring now. And I look, Hollywood is celebrity culture, and now the world is celebrity culture. Yeah. So again, it's about, it's about the names, it's about the faces, and it's about, we live in that crazy little world right now. And, I always tell people, there's no more photography. There's no more music. It's all dead and gone. It's all just content. And so, content creators make content. Like, how many times our musicians are these days they come to Hollywood and I don't know, like especially the last couple of years because of COVID, but like all it is, they make music all day long. And then it's like, and they put it out and every month they're putting out a single and a video and a single, and you don't even have time to fucking care about any of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just content.
Yeah, you get on the hamster wheel and that's it.
They said that over 1 million songs are released a year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 1 million songs. And think about that's competing against the previously 500 million that are already there.
Right. It's like who's listening to all of this music?
Yeah. I have all these young musicians. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them. I always tell them, you better love what you do. If you think you're going to be rich and famous off of it, stop right now. Go get a real job. Same thing with photographers. I tell them all the time, if you think you can get rich and famous off of this shit, shut up.
Well, case in point, how you must get inundated with aspiring photographers wanting you to look at their work or musicians wanting you to listen to their work. And it's just like, people don't realize at times how many of those things are probably in your inbox on a given basis.
We get
it's just
those
saturated.
We get those and we're not even like a professional like he is. So he probably
right, exactly. It's like, I don't know why the fuck people care about our opinions.
Yeah, but people
validation.
This is where, again, going back to the advice I give to people moving to LA is just remember that your dream that you have to be a rock star, there's 1 million people with that dream. And the only thing that separates you from everybody else is your work ethic. That's why when I moved to LA, after my friend gave me that speech, and I just looked at it and I said, okay, cool. I got it. I get you. I hear you loud and clear, but there's not a fucker in this city, on this planet will outwork me. And if you tell me fucking Annie Leibovitz is working 15 hours a day, I'll start working 16 or 17. Nobody outworks me. The only thing I always tell people, I can't control who likes me, doesn't like me, who hires me, doesn't hire me. I can only control me and how hard I work. And there's nobody will outwork me to this day. Yeah. I work all day. I'm a workaholic. So I work all day, every day. Even when I'm supposed to be on vacation, I'm still working. So
do you think luck plays any part in it?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Like,
well,
so huge.
Comparing the landscape of, if you were to get into photography right now, you as a younger person, do you think that doing it the same way would work? Or
no.
Is it more luck now because people are like, what's that like to get into?
Well, first of all, everybody can do my job. You guys can all do photography. Like I have people literally come to my exhibitions. I'm opening night, big night, right? Woohoo! People walk up to me going, man, Chris, I can do your job. I can, you're right. I can't argue with it. Everybody can take a great picture. Everybody does it every day. Great photos all day, every day. The difference is I like to remind them, can you do it for 50 years and put up with all the assholes that I put up with? And can you shoot icons and make iconic photos that will last the test of time? No, you can't. And that's like when I was a young kid, 10 years old starting out, my 3 heroes were Richard Avedon, Irving Penn, and David Bailey. David Bailey's still alive, thank God. But, those photographers are my heroes. Their work will last forever and a day. And that's been my goal since day one. My goal has not changed in 50 years. I just want to create the greatest body of work that will last the test of time. Yeah. So far, so good.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you feel like you're getting to that point? I mean, it's probably got to be hard to know when you're in the middle of it, but like, say for example, you take a photograph, do you know like this is going to be iconic or this is important when you're taking it?
It's different. It's changed a lot in the last 10 years for me. I really don't. In the last 8 years, I don't even look for work anymore. I've focused on exhibitions and other business things and writing. I'm writing TV series and things like that. I love, I know what I've done and I'm proud of every bit of it. I'm not an asshole. I don't have an ego, whatever. I have great perspective on all of it. Cause I always tell people like at the end of the day, like nobody gives a fuck about, I'm nobody. I always tell, I'm not famous. I hate when people tell me I'm famous. I'm not famous at all. Yeah. My pictures are famous and the people I shot are famous. That's the important thing. I'm only famous to the people I owe money to. They love me.
They know your name very well.
They call me all the time just to say how much they love me. Yeah. So I just think that, I know what's great. And I always tell people, I know it's a good photo. I just know. And I'm proud of that fact that I always tell people I'm proud of the fact that I'm part of people's history, that I'm proud of the fact that I'm part of Chris Cornell's history or Mudhoney's history, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I'm proud of that fact that I'm part of their history. The brief second that we worked together, did something together, hung out together. I'm part of that history of their life as well. And I take a lot of pride in that. And that I don't think anybody would say anything bad about me. I think I would be shocked. But I think they would all say like that they trusted me. I did a great job. That's the stuff I'm proud of most of all. I always tell people when I was 12, 13 years old, I talk about this a lot in Clubhouse. The best advice, first best advice I ever got was a photographer told me that the most important piece of equipment you owned is your reputation. And I tell people all the time that my reputation is that I talk too much, I'm annoying, I work too much, I don't pay my bills on time, and he's crazy. And I go, I can live with that reputation. So, I'm not an asshole. I've helped everybody I can to this day. Yeah. I always tell people come to me all the time. I need free photos. Let's do it right now. I go in Clubhouse rooms to the music rooms and I just tell musicians, can I make an announcement? Sure. Anybody need free photo shoot in Los Angeles? Let me know. I'll shoot you for free. Then then there's a pause and they all go check out my Instagram and then they come back going, oh my God, I'll be there. I need a photo. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you live your dream. So if I can do that, I win.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you have obviously you reached out and responded to us pretty immediately and talked to us more than what I think we expected.
And more than probably was enjoyable for you.
And
Nah, not at all, guys.
And we've kind of talked about it a little bit, and I think me and Chris have been talking about on the pod a little bit. We talk about new music and how we kind of want to work. And I think you have a really good eye for all this stuff, and you do exactly what you say. You help people out, and you give like photos and like. So what is the fascination with like helping people achieve their dream or like music specifically, not just photographers?
It goes back to. So I'll tell you guys a story here. It goes back to the most important person in my life, who I lost 10 years ago to cancer. She helped everybody. And she was my business manager and she was my mom basically for 25 years. And I watched her help everybody. And she inspired me. She made me what I am today. I always tell I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for her. But she inspired me in doing that. And when she passed away, I promised her that I would continue. And so, I just have felt that. And the last 8+ years, especially since I started Greatest Hits, I travel, I'm especially, Australia or whatever, I'm doing things. I like to help. It doesn't cost me any money because I don't have any, but it's like, if I can take a little time out of my day to shoot somebody and give them some free pictures, some fresh art or something, it makes me happy. And I've met a lot of amazing people that way. My favorite singer in the world I think he's the greatest lead singer ever. I mean, he's a genius. His name's Sam Baker. He's out of Australia. He was in a band called Lepers and Crooks, and they broke up, and he's going solo now. I helped him. Bexley, how we both know, that she's amazing, and I'm so passionate about her songwriting. If I can't help her, what the fuck am I doing? To me, and recently I shot Sick Brain, who's amazing. Check her out. It's SICK Brain. She's amazing. She's brilliant, actually. But I love like being able to just be, like I said, they all get shocked. I can't believe you're doing this. It's the same thing I did with Nirvana. Nirvana, I was in Seattle one time. I was shooting Queensryche and I called up John Silva and said, hey, John, is Nirvana around? He's like, yeah. And I go, I got a day off. Do you think they can do a shoot with me? He goes, yeah, they got a new drummer in the band named Dave. Maybe you could shoot them. What time? 3:00. Meet at a diner. That I didn't shoot them thinking that's going to be Nirvana. It's just Nirvana, And so I can tell you 1,000 stories just like that with a lot of artists. I shot this actor once. He came over to my apartment. We hung out, and then I did pictures of him in the alleyway, the same place I shot Nirvana in my alley. His name was Brad Pitt. It's like, so I continue to do that. I always did it, and I always will. If I can shoot, I always tell people, would I rather sit inside doing work or would I have a camera in my hand and go out and take pictures? Yeah. So I think it's important, and young musicians nowadays, and I always tell them, God, I get in huge battles with them. Look, I shoot a lot of hip hop artists. I don't know if you know who BMW Kenny is. I met him on Clubhouse. He came into LA. I said, let's do a shoot. He used one of my photos for his single sleeve cover thing. I was like, dude, I almost cried. I was like, thank you, Kenny. I go, that's the first cover I've had in 10 years. He goes, wow, how many have you done? I go, 300. He's like, oh my God. I said, I know. But it's like, that's the first one in a long time. But I'm meeting these amazing artists. It's not my music. I tell them all the time, the last thing you want is me to go, this is great music. Cause I'm a fucking 60-year-old white guy. Like, I'm like, not your, cause I think all the music sucks today. Anything past 2000 just sucks. But, you know, I hear once in a while, I hear good things once in a while, but I think you guys have to, when you get to the position you can help and give back, you should start interviewing all these new artists, give them a voice, give them a place to share. It's the idea. If we all stick together and we help each other, we're going to all succeed.
Exactly.
You know, it's constantly, I mean, not lying. I do that all the time. Like this NFT thing. I'm meeting NFT artists like crazy because they're all helping me. My mentor's coming by today. I started a series of portraits of NFT artists. And so I hope in about a month, I'm going to release the portraits. So they're going to be NFTs of NFT artists, portraits. And I'm doing it because these guys, you know, they think it's cool that I'm taking their picture, but it's like, it's fun that they're like they've never done anything like this. They've never had their picture taken by a photographer like me. So it's kind of, again, I always tell people I put smiles on people's faces, and I'm looking at the big picture and the long term of my career. So it's all that matters to me. You know, I'm here to have fun. I always tell people in my entire life, I've never had an easy day, but I've always had fun.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, looking back, it's like, what could be better than that? It's like, you know, you've had all of those experiences and you've had fun, you know. I mean, if you're not getting up in the morning and trying to enjoy yourself and do the things you like what the fuck are you doing, you know?
Yeah. And I'm cursed. You guys, I've said this stuff to people all the time. Like, I am cursed. And I used to tell my therapist I was with for 8 years, there's a curse because I couldn't stop if I wanted to. Right. It's cheaper and easier to be a heroin addict than to be me. A lot more fun to be a heroin addict because you can go to fucking rehab. I can't do that. I'm stuck in this shit. Every couple of years I freak out and threaten to get a real job, and everybody just laughs at me. Chris, there's no job. Nobody will hire you. I'm like, come on, there's got to be something. I want a real job. No, I'm stuck, you know. But I think it's important, you know, I'm at different points in my career, all these different periods of my life. And like I said, I'm 61 now, and I still think I'm 30 in my head. It blows my mind. Life is just crazy. It's just crazy. That's why I tell everybody, all my young friends, I have lots of young friends. I tell them all that, enjoy your youth, man. Enjoy your youth and pace yourself, you know, because you want to be able to do the things your whole life. You know, I'm proud of the fact that on my 60th birthday, and I was doing some bumps of some nice little Coke, you know, having a good time.
Yep.
Kind of little bumps.
Ken and Barbie.
I love a lot of Ken and Barbie in my life. So, you know, doing that kind of stuff is important to me, that you pace yourself, you know. I think it's important that we all do that.
Yeah.
Are we 100%. Running long here, guys? I'm sorry.
No, you're. I think
absolutely
we're
not.
Right around.
Yeah, we're right around. So as we close in, what's coming down the pipe from you, and where can people find your stuff aside from the rebirth of the Instagram page? Okay,
so let's do this. First of all, let's do another giveaway because I can need some new followers since my Instagram's gone.
Yeah,
let's do a new giveaway. I have plenty of grunge leftover prints. I'll send you guys some pictures of some stuff, and you guys can figure out how to get rid of them.
100%.
What's coming up? If all goes well, and I want everybody out there to light a candle, say a prayer for me. But in 2022, I'm going to get back to doing exhibitions. I had to take 2 years off. The plan right now is March. I'm doing a Jane's Addiction exhibition here in LA. Greatest Hits Jane's Addiction at Music Head Gallery. We've been talking about that for a while. It's amazing. I worship Jane's Addiction. Trying to get the band involved. And then if all goes well, I'm going to go back to Australia and do Greatest Hits Top 40, which is going to be like the best of stuff. And then I'm doing my first non-music exhibition in 20 years. I'm doing a Dita Von Teese exhibition because I've been shooting Dita for 20 years and I have a beautiful body of work of her. And then my goal is to do, I'm working on the major one. I hope at the end of next year, I want to do a George Michael exhibition in London. I'm looking to try to do a Greatest Hits exhibition in either Atlanta or Seattle. my friend up in Seattle talked to a gallery for me. This is funny. He's like, she wants to do an exhibition. I go, not a grunge one. And she goes, well, yeah. And I go, I am not doing a grunge exhibition in Seattle. Excuse me. But I go, like, they'll beat the shit out of me.
You bring your flannel shirt too.
Like, I'm not, Charles Peterson will come probably just jump me and beat the, like, it'd be embarrassing, right? You know, Lance Mercer would probably laugh at me. They'd probably pick at the gallery. I don't know. But I said, I do a greatest hits type of thing of everything, you know, I'll toss in some grunge one. But I laugh about it. I was like, nah, sorry, I'm not going to do that. Not in Seattle. I'll do a regular one. So I'm trying. I hope next year, I really want to get busy back to doing it, you know, doing exhibitions. I love doing them because, as I tell people, why I started the project is everybody loves music. And I have a lot of images that people remember. And there's a lot of memories and that go with these images. So I make people smile. It makes me feel good.
Absolutely. That's super exciting.
I was gonna say, yeah, Chris. If we do a giveaway, I think I have like a few ideas. I think we should give one. We have this podcast is we have some Patreon, some people that banded together to give us a few bucks each month, and I think we should give some away to our top level Patreons, or maybe.
I agree. I agree. That's a great idea.
And honestly,
that's a great idea.
And honestly, if you're listening to the pod right now, I don't know how we could. If you're like, I feel like also the listeners to the pod should have first. They should have first pick too. Like, I feel like we should we'll do some stuff on the main page, obviously, to make traffic to your page, because we got to get you some followers because you lost. I can't, dude.
Lost them all.
Dude,
I lost 20. I had 20. I was up to finally over 25,000.
I know, you were moving.
See, yeah, it was working. Did you ever, like, why? Why did it get,
what happened was,
like, explanation?
No. Yeah. So what happened was, and I'll make this very short. What happens, one day I got a message saying, I posted something with some music or something. And about a day or two later, I got a post saying, copyright infringement, please click this link to report this, you know, to settle this. And I was like, what? That's really weird. Yeah. Like, I've never had that happen before. And it looked official from Instagram. So I clicked the link and it said, add your username and password to sign in. And I added my username and password. Then the next window came up and said, add your email and password. I went, whoa, fuck that. This is not legit. By the time I just thought, and so I stopped. And about 20 minutes later, I went, oh shit, I need to go change the password. And I didn't have two-step verification because I didn't even really need it. Because I had the account for so long.
Yeah.
By the time I went back, it was already hacked. It was already taken. And they changed everything.
Yeah.
So I've had many people, friends everywhere. I can get it back for you. We've tried everything. You know, but there's tech support is just horrible.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
There's no support whatsoever. So I kind of started just resigning the fact, like, the only thing that bothers me is I had Cuffaro photo and that's, you know, printed on 1 million catalogs. So I changed it to the Cuffaro photo.
Yeah.
But, I'm still loosely trying when I have time for it. I've reported it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything.
No, they don't pay much attention to that sphere of the complaints or reports. No, they don't give a fuck.
I know. And my friend from high school sent me a message saying my niece works for Instagram. I said, please, and he's been trying to help as well. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? It freaked me out, stressed me out. And then like I said, I've had to let it all go. And it always helps. It's just social media, whatever. It's not life. There's more important things.
Yeah, you're still you and still got to get up in the morning. So
yep, exactly. I got work to do. But the funny thing is I've been posting things to kind of rebuild because I'm putting things that I had already put up, but I'm redoing it kind of like, because there's all these new people following me that don't know about all the other stuff.
Right.
Well, why don't we, I was going to say, why don't we, because I'm thinking right now, if you're listening right now, go over to the Cuffaro photo and like it, and we'll just say first person to message you, Chris, and say, like, you know, I'm here from the podcast. You know, we'll do it that way, and then hopefully you get some traffic. So go over, follow, and send. Maybe not send them a message.
I would like to. We got to do something on the Patreon. We got to get you guys. People need to join the Patreon, and then we got to have like a raffle.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like where people, you know.
What do you got what kind of stuff do you have lying around?
Let me figure that out. I got some leftovers from the Grunge exhibition, some Pearl Jam, Mudhoney.
We could raffle in each level because we have 3 levels. So maybe the smallest could be like a small something, and then
there's some good stuff. I have some good stuff. They're framed. They're beautiful framed, very expensive stuff. but I had the sale last year and this year where I was trying to clean a house because I had you should have seen how much stuff I had. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And it's nice. You're like, hey, I got all these prints, but like, I don't hang shit up in my own house. I don't
They probably don't help you sitting at home. You know?
Yeah. I'm just trying not to sit there and get, I always tell people like, I don't hang up my own work. It's
right.
Like, that's not me behind
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That'd be great if we'll work together on that, and we will follow the other cardinal rule of Chris Cuffaro, which is go big or shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
That is the important rule that is, has been very important to us.
But you guys know too.
I was just going to say, we wrote that on our initial document that we started. And it was like, go big or shut the fuck up.
Well, that's just, because people, that's another complaint I have with young people these days. I keep yelling. I had a friend over here yesterday and I was yelling at her about like, God, everybody I meet these days under 30 has fucking ADHD, ADD. It's like all that comes out of people's mouths is excuses. And I start to sound like an old man, but like, shut up, do the work. Just shut up and do the work. Oh, but I have ADHD. So what? Like, who cares? I don't care. Do the work. It's like, who cares? I mean, you guys all played sports. I played sports. I always tell people in Little League, you drop the ball. Like coaches, I'd be like, oh, dude, the sun was in my eye. There was a pebble in my shoe. And the coach is like, shut up and catch the ball, throw the ball, hit the ball. Like that's how I was brought up. Maybe I would say, man, that's an old age thing.
We have the same thing with sports because I'm still training, for the USA Nationals and whatnot. And our coach says the same thing. It's like when you fly over and you go like, my flight got delayed or, I lost my bags. The meet director, they're like, we don't care. Like, you got to perform. This is your job. Like, you got to do. No one cares you lost your luggage. You know what I mean? It's like, no one gives a shit.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Singing during photo shoots. I remember doing things. I had great assistants. But like a light would blow up and break or something. You're like, who cares? Just, you don't talk about it or go, oh my God, the light blew up. You just solve the problem and keep going.
Yep. Yeah. It's like the more energy you spend freaking out over something is energy you can't put towards finding a solution and moving forward.
It's like, just shut up. Like, just shut up and do the work. That's my motto for everything. Shut up and do the work.
Absolutely.
And, and I think that's a lot of times, all my young musician friends, they just come up with excuses. And I tell them all the time, like, just go in the recording studio while you're out partying and getting stoned or getting fucked up. There's somebody else in the recording studio writing great lyrics, practicing their guitar, writing a song. So you can go ahead and party all you want, but you are where you are because of that shit. You're not playing fucking the LA Forum because you're fucking being stupid.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Chris, how would you feel about sometime in the future coming back on for another episode? Is that something?
Anytime, guys. I've been doing this. I always tell people, everybody I do podcasts with, my friends' shows, I know I talk a lot and they end up being really long. People will, our podcast is 30 minutes long. And I go, okay, sure. That'll be
double that.
I end up an hour later, they're like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So because I have a lot, I barely scratched the surface today. So anytime you guys need me, that I got you guys back always.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate that. Well, Chris, we appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate your friendship and your advice and your mentorship. And it's really great to know you.
You guys are the best. I swear to God. Keep in touch. Let me know if you need anything. We'll off mic and everything. We'll figure out this giveaway thing. Let me figure out what I have, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gonna be great. I think that we owe the people something like this. Some good.
The holidays are coming up.
Followers.
And that's exactly, we did that last time. We did it right around the holidays too, which is really cool. So we'll do the same.
Definitely.
That's gonna be that'll be badass. Well, that was great. Yeah, we got a whole lot of other questions that we'll come back on and talk about and stuff. But we tried to do our best to not just talk about stuff that you talk about all the time. So I hope that
Can you do me a favor? Next time, just come up with questions that are yes or no answers. We can get through a lot.
Rapid fire.
Because you're going to answer with just yes or no.
multiple choice. A, B. Yeah, the answer is E, all the above.
That's the thing about Chris. He's very concise. Yes or no. That's it.
Yeah, he's very succinct when he talks. He just gives us answers. It's just
absolutely. No, we'll be the fun of that. Come on.
Yeah, I got you guys. No worries. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, we'll talk more later. This is great.
That's great.
Wow, what a conversation, Chris. That was better than I expected. So. we're just coming back to wrap it up. We got a song of the week we're gonna do, and I know it's been a little long of an episode, so we'll make it quick. Chris, do you want to go first, or what?
Yeah, I would love to go first, and yeah, I definitely echo what you were saying. That was a fun conversation. It always is whenever we get on the horn with Chris, and we're happy to have him as the first external guest on the Grunge Bible podcast. I mean, there was really no other way to begin than with Chris Cuffaro. So we're very thankful, as we said, that he came on, and I think we'll have to have him back at some point. But in the interest of wrapping this sucker up, I do have a song of the week, and my song of the week is going back to that era a little bit. Surprise, surprise, and it's going to be an artist that in a group that I haven't really gotten a whole lot into, but I do really appreciate this song. And I know Chris was a big fan of this band, as he mentioned during our conversation. But my song of the week is "Summertime Rolls" by Jane's Addiction. It's definitely one of those songs. It's kind of knowing what I know about Jane's Addiction, this is a quintessential song of theirs. It's just super, whatever adjective you want to use, the one that comes to mind is ethereal for me. It's very expansive. It's almost like I don't know, it's just a great song. It's great for driving late at night. I think the first time I heard it, I was in the car super late, and it just kind of woke me up and it fired me up a little bit. So the great awesome. Perry Farrell, just absolutely one of the greatest showmen of all time, and certainly of that era.
And I'm going to go ahead and jump in that same car with you and do a Perry song. But I'm going to go with, because Chris has Cuffaro has made it pretty clear that he loves Jane's Addiction. I think he said it was his favorite band. Yeah. But I'm going to do a song from Porno for Pyros.
Yeah.
And it's Pets. And I just to stay in the same realm, and I just think it's there's a really good performance. I can't even remember where it was, but Perry is he's so fun to watch and fun to listen to, and that song is it's so unique, and I don't know, it's kind of it's just a pretty fucking cool song. So Pets by Porno for Pyros, two Perry Farrell bands and songs to finish up our episode 36.
Episode 36. Yeah, what better way to end than that? So if you're still with us, we hope you enjoyed. And also, if you're still with us, stay tuned. We're going to be giving away some stuff along with Chris. And I have no doubts that he'll be back on the show at some point. He truly does have a million stories and the photos to prove it. So we've only scratched the surface. And, we're excited to have some more conversation with him and share it with you all. But once again, we thank you all for listening to episode 36 and to our conversation with Chris Cuffaro.
Yeah, and then next week, I think we're also going to have another interview. So we are ripping and roaring. I guess we'll save. Should we let them know who it is, Chris?
I think we'll save it. We'll hit them with a little midweek announcement, maybe.
I like that. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Rock and roll. Love you all.
Take care, everybody. See you later.